Welcome to the Faith and Business Podcast. I'm your host, Elle Edwards, founder of the Faith and Business Playground, here with mentoring, accountability, and this podcast to help you be youier, to help you embrace your inner weirdo so you can make Jesus CEO of your life and business. And all this week, very specifically, we are talking about and exploring what it means and what it looks like and the challenges to be found in making Jesus the CEO of your life and business. I would encourage you to come and join the conversations around the podcast. They're happening over in the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/youier Christian entrepreneur. There's a thread for every podcast episode where we can dig into it more and chat about what comes up for you. In the meantime, though, today's episode is called His Power in Our Weakness. I imagine if I was to poll everybody listening and say, right, what Bible verse comes to mind when I say that? You would probably go, oh yeah, it's the one about Paul with a thorn in his flesh. Of course it is. I'm going to read that to you just a few minutes, a few verses of that. It's from 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And from about verse 7. In order to keep me from becoming conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he said to me, this is God speaking to Paul, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Paul goes on to say, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now, we don't really know exactly what Paul's thorn in his flesh was. Some people have suggested it was to do with his eyesight. And so he said to God 3 times, whatever it was, please take it. And God said, well, actually, no. This is the reason why this is here for you. The things that make you weak, it gives me an opportunity to show you how powerful I can be. I've actually got a kind of personal story about that because I was familiar with this Bible verse. But I've always been a curvy girl. I'm never going to be skinny. I eat relatively nicely now and I like to go to kettlebells and stuff. So I'm not as chubby as I was. But it's been one of those things that's been a bit of a curse for much of my life. I remember standing in the shower many years ago now. I want to say maybe 7, 8 years ago, something like that. I didn't write down the date. And standing in the shower crying to God, going, can you please just can you take away my greediness around food? Please, can you just make me nice and eat pretty and be nice around food? And as I was crying these words, I was reminded of these words that Paul wrote. And God was saying, well, actually, I'm not going to take it because this is my way of keeping you talking to me. And around that time, I came across an online Bible study that basically was an eye-opener for me. I've shared with you before that it was the first time ever that I was given a real awareness of just how loved by God each of us are. The fact that he's interested in every single minute detail of your life, including what goes in your mouth. And so the reminder I had was actually, you can eat pretty and not be greedy. You do it alongside me. And that did have a real impact on my relationship with God. And so those verses, when I hear Paul, I feel it inside. It feels very real. But the same is true for you as well. And you might not have exactly the same story as that. But I'm sure that if you reflect on those times in your life when things have felt difficult, it's often those times when God is given the opportunity to show just how brilliant he is. I've shared with you before that the League of Brilliance, which is my paid membership community, has been launched under a number of different names and a number of different guises over the years. And there was always something not quite right, or there was something I gave up too soon, or it never quite did what it was meant to do. And then finally, this year, I really felt very clearly God go, right, now I want this to be your focus. And now, when it was completely ridiculous, humanly speaking, there's no reason, human logic, business wisdom tells you, in order to launch a membership type platform, you need to have a large audience. I don't have a huge audience yet. And so there's no logical reason why I should do that. It's ridiculous. But what I'm reminded of is actually God revels in the ridiculous. In my weakness, the fact that the Faith and Business Playground is still small is no challenge for God. He can do the ridiculous. And so this time, when it goes on to grow and be successful and makes a difference, I have a very clear story of actually not because of me, because of him. And I think that's one of the real reasons why it works this way, because human nature is when things are going easy, when things are going great, we tend to get a bit distracted and we kind of forget about God. I know that can't be just me. And the reality is that he wants to be in relationship with you. That's the real reason. It's not about him going, oh, I want to just show how brilliant I am. It's his way of drawing you back to him, to keep reminding you and nudging you and just to keep going, this is how much I love you. I want to spend time with you. And it's almost like we can't really hear him and we don't really get the nudges when we're so busy and everything's going great. And so by putting us in those situations where we don't know the answers, it allows God's glory and his brilliance to shine through. And so I shared with you yesterday that I don't know what the next few weeks are going to look like. After realizing that, because my human speaking, my plan was, okay, we've got all the content I know for the next few weeks, the podcast is going to come together. It's going to be the content for the book. When God went, oh, actually, you've already done 4 weeks of it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, now what? Because I'm a bit stuck. Now I've got nothing left. And the whisper I got was, take July and August off. I was like, what? Really? No. That was my immediate reaction. No, I can't do that. That would be nonsense. What would I do instead? What would it look like? How would I show up? Quite candidly, at the time of recording this, I still don't have the answers yet. But I see this as an opportunity, because it means that when I don't know, God will already know. God has already gone into the future and had prepared a plan and a way forward. And that's true for me, and that's true for you as well. And so my encouragement for you really today is that if you are feeling uncertain, if you are feeling unsure, if you don't know, celebrate that. Say, thank you, God, I don't know, because he does. Because he is God and we are not. And I personally am very, very thankful for that. And so don't worry that you don't know, or you haven't got, and all the pieces that you aren't sure of. And instead, I would encourage you to focus on all that you do have. There's that verse, I think somewhere else is it Thessalonians? Give thanks in all circumstances. It's not just in Thessalonians, it's all over the place. That reminder to give thanks. No matter what kind of day you are having, there will be something that you can be thankful for in that day. And so if you're not sure, turn it around and thank God for the things that you are sure about. If you're feeling uncertain or you haven't got certain things, thank him for what you have got, and just know that he has already prepared a plan forward. He knows even when you don't. His power really is in our weakness. And I would encourage you to, and we'll be talking more about stories and the language around that actually later in the week, but I would encourage you just to think, okay, what happens when I don't know? It allows God to show how much he does know, and ultimately how loved you are. In terms of your writing prompt for today, it's a simple little one. I want to ask you to consider, where are you feeling weak right now? So that's an opportunity for you to pour your heart out to God. These are the things I'm feeling uncertain about. One of my experiences in the last week or so, I've tweaked, and I will talk about this more possibly tomorrow even. I've tweaked my start of the day routine a little bit. My Win the Week planner, which you've heard me talk about before, I've changed it and added in some different questions. But one of the questions is areas for direction. A very clear space there for basically, this is the stuff I don't know, God. And the number of times I write something down, and then within a day or two, he provides answers. So a concrete example of that, I wrote down, I think a week or so ago, how am I going to grow the Faith and Business Playground? And then, as if by magic, and I'm saying magic in inverted commas because it wasn't magic, it was God, new people, and you might be one of the new people who are listening to this, and so you are an answer to prayer, so thank you. I didn't have to do anything. God was already preparing that way forward, and the same is true for you. So take some time to think, where are you feeling weak right now? Write it down, come and share it in the playground if you want to, facebook.com/groups/Uria Christian Entrepreneur. But more than anything, share it with God, because he loves you. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.